The small picturesque town of Lewes, right in the heart of East Sussex, may be difficult for most people to point to on a map of England. But unbeknownst to many, this quaint town situated 20 minutes from the city of Brighton became home to the first gender-equal football club in the world back in 2017. Nicknamed the Rooks, Lewes FC was founded in September 1885 in the Royal Oak pub, just a short distance from its iconic stadium named the Dripping Pan. This unique stadium has been home to the Rooks for the past 135 years and was recently voted number 1 in a book titled British Football's Greatest Grounds. Lewes FC prides itself on its core principles of equality, community and inclusivity, with a strong ethos of hoping to change football for the better, both on and off the pitch. I spoke to current Chief Executive Officer Maggie Murphy, who talked me through the club's groundbreaking equality scheme and the benefits the club has seen since making this decision.
One of the major principles that we adopted in 2017 was this principle around equality. So our men's side and our women's side, up until that point, the women's side were kind of seen as an add-on, as is the case in most football clubs. But in 2017, the club took the decision to start valuing and treating the women's side equal to the men, and that includes in the money side of things. And so from that point, the women's side has flown and is now in the Championship alongside much bigger names like Crystal Palace, Sheffield United, Blackburn Rovers, and then you've got Lewes as well. So the women's side are now a fully professional team in the top part of English football. Since that time in 2017, probably at the time, fewer than 100 people would have gone to the women's games. We had more than 1,200 here last week for one of the women's games, so the attendance has skyrocketed. We've obviously seen about a doubling in ownerships, people that really value what we've decided to do. But also commercially, it's been a real success. So our big sponsors have come on board because of the women's team or because of our principle of equality. So yeah, we were not making that much money through sponsorships 5 years ago, and now we make hundreds of thousands of pounds. So it's a real positive, because it shows that the brands and companies out there are also keen to put their money where their mouth is as well when it comes to supporting women's sport as much as men's sport.
Maggie is approaching her final season with the club after 5 years of working tirelessly as CEO. A statement posted on the club's website gave enormous gratitude to Maggie, stating that her journey has been one of dedication, growth and profound impact on and off the pitch. The club further stated that Maggie's tireless advocacy for a more ethical, equitable, accountable and inclusive form of football has made Lewes FC a beacon of progress and inclusivity. Not only has Maggie had a huge impact at Lewes both on and off the pitch, but she has now set an example for other clubs across the country and wider to follow.
We have definitely found that other clubs have started following our lead on certain areas. Even just in terms of the treatment and the value, we play at the same grounds, we have the same training facilities, and bit by bit we're seeing other clubs decide to open up their grounds to their women's teams or open up their training facilities to other teams. Obviously there's been a lot more investment into the sports science side of things, the medical side of things, and also the mental health, which we've been doing for quite a long time. So yeah, definitely it's really exciting actually, because something that we put ourselves out a long time ago and said, you know, we want to treat and value and respect our women equally. You're now starting to see other clubs go, oh yeah, we want to support our women's teams too. So we get a lot of messages of support, but also we get a lot of clubs around the world asking us for advice on how they can shift their models to adapt some of the things that we've done here.
Back in 2017, the club's decision to become the first football club in the world that provided the same budgets, marketing, facilities and stadium for the men's and women's teams felt like a breath of fresh air. The men's side currently reside in the 7th tier of English football, with the women's all the way up in the 2nd tier, just one division below the Women's Super League. According to the club's website, the Rooks remain the only professional or semi-professional club in the world that treats its women's footballers the same as the men's. But what made the club reach this decision that no other club has yet to make? Karen Dobre, an ambassador and former director at Lewes FC, told me the moral and financial reasons behind this giant step towards equality in the game.
When we became community owned back in 2009-2010, the agenda of the club changed. So whereas we were trying to make a profit before, we became very community focused and trying to include our whole community and be for the benefit of the whole community. So that led to, in 2016, directors questioning why are we giving the men more playing budget than the women, when actually we're here for our whole community and the women are doing really well, right, because they were shooting up the leagues. So they decided, 2 male directors stood for election on the basis that if you vote us back in, we're going to bring in equality, we're going to assign equal playing budgets to the men's and the women's teams. And then we created a campaign about how do you tell your daughter she's worth less than your son, you know? And we got a lot of people who were very, very, into the equality campaign, but also there were critics of it who said, why should the women get the same as the men? Because they don't get the same crowds as the men, which is a good economic argument, although it's not a very good social justice one, am I right? But anyway, what we did, we started to campaign to get more women to come into the Dripping Pan who maybe didn't like football, but in solidarity with gender equality. And within 2 seasons, we'd quadrupled the gate for the women. So that even now, it's more aligned with the men's gate in generally. So they're both sides will be getting 700 to 800 on an average to a match. So in one sense, equality has worked very well for Lewes FC.
Not only does Lewes pride itself on equality, but its community also plays a huge part in the club's identity. After nearly going into administration back in 2008, a group of fans made the decision to turn Lewes into a club that is 100% fan-owned and people-powered. Through the club's official website, anyone can become an owner by paying an annual or monthly fee, which enables them to have their say on how Lewes is run. Today, the club has over 2,500 owners from 41 countries around the world. Closer to home, however, Lewes relies on volunteers such as Michael, who are integral to this unique football club's foundations.
My name's Michael Wallace. I am the secretary of the supporters club and also a matchday volunteer here at the Dripping Pan. So we're like a supporters group, so we are separate from the board. So we operate independently of the club. So we raise money largely for maintenance of the ground. We have also volunteer maintenance on a Thursday. So there's a group of people go around and do things like painting, and they fitted the Wembley seats over there. And then we also promote the sustainability of the club, and obviously this club almost went out of business a few years ago, so we want the club to be here and be flourishing for the long term.
Another of the club's many volunteers is commentator Ollie Ordis, who began working for the Rooks at the beginning of the season. I asked Ollie what he thinks makes this club so unique to any other in the country.
Well, of course, the fan-owned element is extremely important. It's very democratic in that the fans around the ground have a say in what the orders are from above, which kind of bridges that gap between the fans and the directors, and that gives a really positive feel. You have the directors coming in around as if they are fans. They're not hidden away. They're not watching the game through a screen. They are like a fan, and obviously the owners are fans as well. I'm an owner. I pay money each month to have an ownership in this club, and I think having that pride just instills that sense of pride on a much bigger level.
On the field, the season is drawing to a close for both the men's and women's teams, who have both endured tough campaigns. The women's side were unfortunately relegated to the 3rd Division on the penultimate day of the season, despite putting up a strong fight. The men's side finished just below the playoff places, meaning they'll remain in the 7th tier for another season. However, the men did achieve success in Europe a few months ago after being eligible to play in the Phoenix Trophy. The Phoenix Trophy enables non-professional teams from around the continent to have the experience of playing in a European competition despite their non-league status.
Yeah, so the Phoenix Trophy I think has been a great addition to the football club this season for the men's side to play in. It provides fans with a chance to go over the country, to go over Europe, to play other teams, which is unlike no other. It feels like unless you're a Premier League side, you're never going to get the opportunity to play in Europe unless it's some pre-season friendly. So to have that kind of opportunity to play in Europe, of course, they've just went to Oslo on Wednesday. They drew 1 apiece. And they went to Beveren, which is in the east of Belgium. So they've gone to Belgium and Norway and had really good times there. And they've had 2, of course, European fixtures at the Pan.
Looking to the future, Lewes FC will remain steadfast in its commitment to equality, community and progress. As they bid farewell to Maggie Murphy's tenure, the club will look towards new horizons, always striving to improve and innovate. As the sun sets on another season at the Dripping Pan, Lewes FC prepares to embark on new challenges both on and off the pitch. With their unwavering commitment to equality, inclusivity and the power of community, the Rooks continue to inspire their supporters and football clubs worldwide. In the heart of East Sussex, a small town with a big vision, Lewes FC stands as a shining example of what football can be when driven by principles of fairness, unity and progress.